Hitman is out in theaters ahead of its Netflix release in June. New film from Richard Linklater starring Glenn Powell and Adria Arjona. It's loosely based on the real story of a person named Gary Johnson, who is a college professor in Texas, moonlighting as a pretend hitman. Essentially, the police set up a fake phone number for a contract killer in order to lure and catch people who wanted to murder someone, and Gary would be on the other end of that phone, and he would go out to meetings with these contract givers, act like a murderer, and get them to incriminate themselves so that they could be arrested. In the fictionalized movie version, things get more complicated as he meets a woman who wants to get rid of her husband, but she's extremely beautiful and also clearly isn't evil. She just feels trapped in an unhappy marriage. So in that case, Gary makes an exception. He's pretending to be this cool suave hitman Ron, and he talks her out of it. And eventually he starts an affair with her, trying to balance his personal life as an unassuming college professor, his professional life as the hitman of many faces, and his romantic life, where the personality of Ron is kind of slowly starting to take over his own. So it's a very, very strange film. As it was going on, I kept wondering, what does it really want to be? Because there are moments that are played like straight comedy. There are moments of extreme tension, just straight out of a thriller. And there's an entire rom-com section as well. And the ending of it is just really, really tonally off, where it's played like a happy ending, and I kept thinking, is it really? Aren't these awful people who never got caught by the consequences of their actions? And the movie kind of presents this as a very happy romance, where I thought both parts of it were kind of shitty people. And then it's revealed that that part is in fact completely made up and never happened in real life. So what was even the point? Now, listen, there are things I enjoyed here. Glenn Powell is very charismatic for sure, and as much as casting him as an awkward, nerdy professor is a bit of a stretch because he is just too handsome, he does physically play the part really well, and he does play the next parts equally well. There's like a whole montage of his different contract killer personas with costumes and accents and stuff like that, complete with impressions of Patrick Bateman and Alex DeLarge from Clockwork Orange, and I admit those moments genuinely made me chuckle. So I think a lot of the humor works. I think Powell and Adria Arjona have incredible chemistry, and there's this brilliant scene towards the end, which was my favorite scene of the film, where they are having a conversation while being listened to by the police. And I thought that was a masterclass in acting, because those are layered performances on both sides, and throughout the scene it's also, on top of that, clear how much these two turn each other on. And I like the character of Jasper. I thought that was a very cool take on the slimy, untrustful co-worker that really kind of goes back and forth with your expectations of what he'll do in any situation. But on the other hand, I did think that the first half dragged a little bit and took a while to get the movie going. I did think the ending is super strange, and I did think that tonally it's kind of a messy, very undecided film. Oh, and also there are some strange editing and camera work choices. Like there's a scene at the police station which should be a very simple shot, reverse shot, because there's just people sitting around the table. But for some reason, the line of sight is broken between the two shots, and it's just confusing as hell when it goes back and forth as to who's sitting where in relation to the others. I know it's kind of difficult to explain and seems like a very minor thing, but it really is one of those basic tools of filmmaking that everybody does the same way, because it's just natural for the eye of the viewer to interpret what's going on, and it is very obviously being used wrong here. So even if you don't necessarily spot what's wrong, I'm sure when you're watching that scene you will feel a little bit off that something isn't working here. Anyway, I can see some people liking the film more, I can see some people liking it less. There are certainly moments to enjoy here, but there are also obvious flaws. I think on the whole I liked it slightly more than I didn't, and I don't think it was a waste of 2 hours of my time, mainly due to Powell's charisma and his chemistry with Adria Arjona.